Welcome to the She's Just Not That Into You podcast, where we're redefining female experiences. I'm Brianne.
And I'm Ji-yoon. We are two friends with global backgrounds, sharing our multicultural experiences and discussing everything that sparks our passion.
From friendships, career goals, and beauty standards to feminism, health, books, films, and more, we're prioritizing female perspectives.
Every week we have honest and intimate conversations that we hope will inspire and empower not only each other, but women everywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back to the She's Just Not That Into You podcast. We are so happy that you're here with us again. And if you're new, welcome. We are glad that you found us and we are so excited for today's episode. Hey Rian, how are you?
Hey, yeah, I'm good and excited to talk about this topic today because I think it's something that we're both quite passionate about.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot about this topic.
Yeah, so the topic we want to talk about today is how to make friends as an adult. And I guess, friendship in general. We want to share our opinions and our experiences and also, I guess, some advice about the topic.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like friendship becomes like more and more important, ironically, like as society grows more disconnected, because sometimes that allows different types of friendship, like something digitally like driven on social media and stuff.
Yeah.
Like in the past it was all about who was nearby. Like there was definitely this sense of proximity like being the most important, but now I feel like with technology, like we have all these online connections and friendships that can either stay surface level or turn into something really meaningful, like the friendship between you and me.
Yeah.
And it still surprises me like how our friendship developed into something really deeper.
Yeah, that's
So
so
yeah, we
true.
should definitely talk about that as well. And I feel like friendship is even more important as so many of us delay like marriage plans, or so many of us are not interested in getting married.
Yeah, and I think in general, a lot of people are struggling with making friends as an adult. I guess especially, during COVID, it was really hard to meet new people or just keep up with your current friends. And, in the UK a few years ago, the British government even appointed a politician to be the Minister of Loneliness because
Mm-hmm.
there's a loneliness epidemic in the UK and also in the US. I heard on several podcasts that, according to surveys, apparently a lot of adults say that they don't even have one friend
Mm-hmm.
or they have only like maximum one friend and they never have opportunities to make any new friends or meet new people who they would want to be friends
Right.
with. So yeah, it's clearly a really important issue
Mm-hmm.
that affects our society today. So I think we what we were talking before about why is it so hard to make friends as an adult? What do you think?
I think there's just so many different reasons, but I think one major reason is that it requires so much energy and effort, more than we
Yeah.
often realize. Like when we are younger, like meeting new people feels almost automatic because we are constantly in situations that push us to socialize. Like you are in school, like in college or in clubs or surrounded by friends, and there's this like built-in structure kind of for connecting with others. But like
Yeah.
when you are like adult and out in the real world, that structure like sort of like disappears completely. So you have to put yourself out there and you really have to try, but it's just so much energy, you know? And it's
Yeah.
really hard to, it's really hard to just bump into new people without really trying. If you like move to new cities or countries, it can even feel more isolating.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess also everyone is so busy with their work and like romantic partners and
Right.
kids and
Mm-hmm.
commitments with their own families. And I feel like in that kind of situation, the first thing that people deprioritize is their friendships. And people are already so busy just keeping up with the friends that they have from school and college and all of those things that they don't even have the bandwidth to think about meeting new people and
Right.
making new friends, because
Mm-hmm.
it is quite a big time and energy commitment to like start a friendship with someone,
Yeah, definitely.
um, especially as an adult where you have to go out of your way to make time to talk to them and meet up with them,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to when you're at school where you just kind of like see people
Yeah.
around, you know?
Mm-hmm. And like work drains so much of our energy. Like that
Mm,
just like you said, like the thought of going out and socializing after like a long day at work can feel like a, I don't know, like a task or like something you have to do.
yeah,
And yeah, that's like a vicious cycle, I think.
yeah, definitely. And do you think there's some cultural differences in terms of how people approach making new friends or meeting new people?
Yeah, there's one thing. Speaking of like cultural differences, I've noticed some differences. Like in Korea, like the idea of friendship like feels a little more like flexible. Like for example, like when I was
Okay.
younger, I used to like wonder why like in American movies or TV shows, maybe it's relevant also in British movies and TV shows as well. Like why like people would have these moments in the movies where they'd ask like, are we friends now? Like, are we now friends? Something like that.
Wait, in American TV shows?
Yeah. Or like
Really?
in general, like are we now friends or something like that? So like, but in Korea, if you meet someone, hang out or get along, you are kind of assumed to be friends. So there's less of a need to label it or have that sort of like conversation, you know? Because I feel like people in the West, they don't automatically think that they are friends just because they hung out only like once or so.
Oh no, definitely. I think
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
British.
that's what I'm talking about.
I think British people and Americans are pretty different, but I think British people are really difficult to become friends with. It takes a lot of time, but then once you are friends, you're friends forever.
Oh, okay. So there's no cutting ties or like
Oh, I mean,
parting
like
ways.
there is, I think, but I think people, once you do become friends with someone, then I think people generally have fewer friends, and I think they focus more on like quality over quantity, right? So like once you do get to become friend like real friends with someone, then
Right.
I feel like in general, like you don't really like easily part ways or like easily stop contacting each other, or even if you do like not contact each other for a bit, then you would still be friends. Like you can still like message them and ask them to hang out and expect that they'll still be friends, right?
Right.
Whereas I heard that in America, people, it's like easy to become like friendly with someone,
Yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna stay friends for a long time.
Right. I think it like how big like a country is also affects like the friendship dynamics. Like in that sense, America is so big. You know, so
Mm.
when you move to New York, for example, from LA, you are in a completely new environment. Like you are
You might
like,
as well be in a new country, right?
yeah, 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 definitely something like that. So I feel like it's hard to sort of like stay connected with the people you know and maintain that existing friendship.
Yeah, even like New York and LA are further apart than we are right now in Japan and Korea, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because we're still on the same time zone.
Yeah, we are in the same time zone. And it's only like 2 hours away by flight. And from LA to New York, I think it takes about, I don't know, it was about like 6 hours or 7 hours or something like that. It's pretty
Wow.
far. Yeah. It's like
Oh
from
my
Korea
god.
to Thailand. Yeah, I feel
Okay.
like relatively in Korea, it's easier to make friends. There's so many different types of hobby focused activities, and people just like to go out, just meet new people. I mean, it depends on who you're talking about, but I feel like the struggle to make deeper connections is real in Korea as well as adults. Like it's easy to meet people like through work or social events, like at club or on a night out, but finding someone you like really click with on a deeper level is really hard in Korea as well.
Yeah, but I have heard that Koreans are the most passionate nation when it comes to friendship, and that Koreans really value their friends more than any other nationality. Do you think that's true? Because I mean, I'm like in Korean dramas and stuff, I definitely feel like people are closer with their friends than they would be in other countries. And there's a lot of storylines where people will be like giving their friends money,
Oh,
or
right.
like lending their friends large sums of money. Whereas I feel like, I don't know, like in the UK and also Japan, people generally wouldn't really like even think about asking their friend to give them money or lend them money or something.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, I've never thought about this kind of thing in a culturally specific sense, but yeah, I think that's correct because come to think of it, I've actually lended money to my friend before as well. Like
Really?
really, really large amount of money, like ten thousand
Wow.
dollars.
Oh my god. Oh
And
my
I never
god.
thought about, getting it back because I cared about that friend at the time. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like friendship is something that people actually, I don't know, it's hard to say because I never thought about it before, but come to think of it, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like there is always this room in our minds for friendship, I think, even after we get married or I don't know, have romantic partners. I mean, a lot of the times when you have like a boyfriend or girlfriend, automatically you spend less time with your friends. But I feel like friendship is something different here. How about Japan?
So okay, it's really interesting because so when I was in the UK, so I was living in the UK for my whole life until I was 28, and then I moved to Japan. So that was 2 years ago. And in the UK, I had friends from school and university, but after I graduated university, I didn't meet. I just didn't really like meet any new friends. I made like a few new friends, but not a significant number, and I was
Right.
mostly just focused on keeping in touch with the friends that I already had. And I wasn't really in the mindset of going out to meet new people and make new friends. But then, yeah, since I moved to Tokyo, I've been meeting a lot of new people and making a lot of new friends. Um,
Yeah, I really want to get into it. Like, let's digest it. Why it's so different.
well, okay, I think in Tokyo, well, like especially among, I guess, international people who I'm hanging out with, I think people are a lot more open to meeting new people and actually becoming friends.
Mm-hmm. But why
Um,
why why do you think is that? Like because I feel like there's a lot of like international communities in the UK as well.
oh, I just
Have
didn't
you
meet any of
ever?
them.
Oh, and okay. So you always just like pretty much hung out with just like a local British people, right?
Yeah, I just never
Okay.
had any opportunities to meet them. So, and to be honest, in the UK, I didn't really enjoy socializing or going to parties and meeting new people. But in Tokyo, I think I'm in a kind of different mindset, and I go out and go to parties all the time because it's a lot safer here to go out, especially like as a woman. That's something that you're always aware of, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also the weather is a lot better here, so it's just easier to go out.
And I feel like you feel more energized to go out and hang out with people when the weather is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like like the transport is cheaper and more efficient, and
Mm-hmm.
there's just like more fun stuff to do outside here. And it's also a lot cheaper. Yeah, I don't know, and I feel like Tokyo has this kind of energy where, cause I think maybe in I think we discussed this before, but in Japan and also I guess similar in Korea and other Asian countries, there's more of a culture of going out at night, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people like are staying out late at night in the
Right.
streets, and like
Yeah.
everything is kind of set up for that. So yeah, because of that, I feel like I've had more opportunities to meet new people here.
And I think I also noticed a lot of differences in your social life when I see you. I feel like you have more female friends in Tokyo. So, what do you think is the difference between these two environments? Do you think they are similar or different, or what affected your friendship dynamic?
Yeah, so yeah, it's really interesting because I think because we met when I was living in the UK, and I remember
Mm-hmm.
I told you that I have more male friends than female
Yeah,
friends.
you're always complaining about that. Like,
So yeah, basically yeah, when I was in the UK, I often felt a bit uncomfortable in like all female situations, I guess. And for example, I went to an all girls school at one point, and I didn't really enjoy that environment that much. And I mean, I did. I obviously like I did have a few really close female friends when I was in the UK, but I felt generally that I found it maybe easier to make new friends with guys, and
mm-hmm.
I also did have a lot of my close friends were guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought this was just like me having this problem, but then since moving to Tokyo, it's more like the opposite. I feel, and I have so many female friends who I really like a lot, and it's maybe more of a struggle to meet guys who I can be close friends with. I mean, I have a lot of guy friends here who I'm friends with and I hang out with in groups, but we're not necessarily super close. Although I do have a few guy friends here who I am really close with. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of become the opposite. And yeah, me and June were talking about this before, and it was so funny because June helped me realize that the reason was I think a lot of the times I feel like we're really influenced by our parents and our upbringing, because obviously our parents are the first people who we have
mm-hmm.
close relationships with,
Right.
and a lot of our relationships that we have later on in life are influenced by that,
Yeah.
both romantic relationships but also friendships. And my mom's Japanese and my dad's British, and then yeah, I realized that I maybe generally feel more comfortable surrounding myself with Asian women.
Yeah.
And for men, I feel more comfortable with British men. But I feel like it's not just the nationality, but also maybe the personality traits that my
Yeah,
parents have as well,
definitely.
because I feel for like close female friends, I maybe subconsciously look for the positive qualities that I notice in my mum. For example, my mum is a very strong woman who has a lot of strong opinions and values, and she, like, I don't know, like knows how to stand up for herself and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely qualities that I look for in female friends. Yeah, the other thing is my mom is not really one of those women who cares about like celebrity gossip and stuff like that. We tend to have more kind of like deep conversations, and my mum hates superficial conversations. So
Right.
because of that, like, I really struggle in environments with groups of female friends where people are just like talking about gossip and like celebrities and stuff like that. I'm not really used to that, and I don't really have much to contribute, so then I feel uncomfortable. And then yeah, for male friends, I think so my dad was like a very intelligent man who enjoyed having intellectual conversations, and I think that's kind of what I'm used
Right.
to, and I think that's also kind of subconsciously what I look for in male friends. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about, yeah, back to the topic of why it's so hard to make friends as an adult. I kind of wanted to talk about what it's like in Western society, since we've kind of talked about Korea and Japan.
Yeah.
And I feel like the problem is that a lot of people in Western society prioritize romantic relationships over friendships,
So much.
especially, yeah, especially after they get to a certain age. And it's interesting because I feel like people have so much time and energy when it comes to dating and meeting a romantic partner, But then when it comes to making new friends, it's not really something that they want to prioritize. And so they don't have enough time and energy for it, I guess. And yeah, it's interesting because I feel like also a lot of people in Western society seem to have this mindset that once you get to a certain age, you can't make new friends. Like they can be a lot of people can be very stubborn about it, and they're just like not open minded about
Right.
making new friends, right? And I feel like a big difference also is that in Western society, people socialize as a couple a lot more. But for example, in Japan, if you're a woman and you're meeting up with friends, or if you're a man meeting up with friends, like people don't really take their partner with them.
Oh, that is so true.
And it was interesting because I asked like several different Japanese friends about this, including my mum's friends as well. And one of my mum's friends said, "Oh, if I bring my husband when I meet up with my friends, how can I complain about him?"
That's hilarious. Oh my god. Well, I think that also is true in Korea as well. Like in the States or in the UK, like bringing plus one is so normalized.
Mm,
Like in every like social events and stuff. Like for example, if it's like your school reunion, it's so normal to bring your partner to this sort of event.
yeah.
But then, like, let's say in Korea, like when you're meeting up with your friends and suddenly you're bringing your, I don't know, boyfriend or something, then you're sort of like killing the vibe. Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
everyone's gonna like, what are you doing right now? Like, why are you bringing your boyfriend to this very important, like, female get together? Yeah, I think that's a really big difference. I think another challenge as adults, we become more like set in our own values and our own ways. We know like what we want in a friendship and what we don't want in a friendship. That can actually make us more selective. But that also means that we are less open to different types of perspectives or, people who don't immediately align with our values and stuff like that. And that sort of like prevents us from committing. Like when you're younger, like it was so much more easier to meet like a more like a, I don't know, a wide like range of personalities and explore like different kinds of relationships and stuff. But now it feels like we are constantly filtering like people out before like giving them like a chance.
Yeah, in that sense, I feel like moving to Japan has been really good for me because I've just become so much more open minded about meeting so many different people from different backgrounds.
Yeah, I feel like you're like thrown into that sort of environment right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I mean, like, even just, like meeting people who grew up in different countries and who speak different languages and all of that. I never really got to meet so many different people when I was in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was mostly just with my local friends, I guess. I also feel like maybe attitudes towards what your romantic partner means to you is quite different in different countries as well. Because I feel like in Japan, a lot of the times once people get married, they don't think about their partner as a romantic partner anymore, and it becomes more like family. I mean, like Japanese couples who have kids, they even call each other mom and dad because it's all like, centered on the kids, right?
Yeah, same in Korea.
Yeah, but I feel like in the West, there's more of like a cultural difference where your partner is meant to also be like your best friend and your soulmate and like your passionate lover, as
Mm-hmm.
well as being close family member and a parenting partner.
Right.
Actually, I feel like having so many expectations on one person, especially for all these things that maybe you should be getting from many different people in your life, might could kind of lead to having a lot of pressure on the relationship, and it could lead to disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
um
Totally.
so I think because of this, like even if you are in a romantic relationship and or you're married and it's going really well, I think it is still important and healthy to make time to like value your friends and
Mm-hmm.
make new friends and meet new people and stuff.
Definitely.
So, Giuna, I guess we've talked a lot now about why it's so difficult to make new
Mm-hmm.
friends as an
Yeah.
adult, and we've talked about cultural differences. Do you want to offer any advice to listeners who resonate with what we've said and who, they
Mm-hmm.
want to make friends, but they feel lost about how they can do so?
I think there's quite a few that I want to talk about, but I think if you want to make friends, I think knowing yourself is the most important. Like, if you're clear about what you want from friendships and what aligns with your values,
Mm-hmm.
it will be easier to attract like-minded people around you. And to do that, I think it's really important to know who you are and what you want in your friendship and what you don't want in your friendship. Like, for example, like in my own life these days, I realize that my current environment doesn't fully align with my long-term like aspirations. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
trying to like figure out, like, for example, I'm working in a corporate setting right now, like
Mm-hmm.
where so many people are focused on, getting to the C-level positions and stuff like that. But that's not my goal. Like, my ambition, like, for example, is to be my own boss, like travel the world and build something of my own, something like that. So it's been challenging to find people who share that vision or have similar values and stuff like that. So it's made me more intentional about the friendships that I'm seeking outside of that environment. So I feel like understanding this kind of thing about myself helps me to find connections that resonate with who I'm evolving into.
Yeah, on that point, I feel like people who want to make new friends or just have better friendships in their life, I think it's really important to think about who your current friends are and see if they are the right people for you whose values align with yours. Because, obviously, everyone says that you're the sum of the five people who you spend the most time with or who you're the closest with. And if you're spending time with people who you don't want to be like, because you find them draining or because their values don't align with yours, then, it could be something that you need to reevaluate. And when it comes to making new friends or meeting new people, we tend to meet people through our friends, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you're friends with the wrong people, then you have a higher chance of continuing to meet more people who are similar to them, who are also going to be the wrong people for you, right?
Yeah, that was one of the points that I wanted to talk about as well. Like, you should learn how to let go of the friendships that no longer like solve you or like satisfy you.
Yeah.
Like, we should be able to have a choice, like when it comes to who we surround ourselves with. If you learn how to let go of that sort of friendship, I think you will learn how to accept new friendships as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. And also, I think another thing is that a lot of people think that you have to be an extrovert to make new friends. But, well, firstly, I've made a lot of new friends as an adult, even just in the past couple of years, and I'm not an extrovert. On the MBTI test, I'm definitely an introvert. But I think, you don't. I mean, I did say that I have met a lot of new friends through, I guess, events and parties and stuff, but you don't necessarily need to go out to parties to meet new people either,
Mm-hmm.
especially if that's not really the kind of thing that you enjoy doing. There are so many different ways to meet new people. For example, you can, like, if you like running, you can go join a running club, or if you like to play tennis, you can join a tennis club, or
Yeah.
if you hate sports, you can join a book club, or like any kind of hobby that you have. I'm sure there's a club for it somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and if there isn't, you can start one yourself.
What if somebody is so introverted that, I don't know, they don't want to reach out first or they don't want to join the club in the first place?
But they would they still want friends then?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't know. Well, we can talk about how we met, because we met in a very introverted way, right?
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, our friendship literally sums up what it is like to have like a more than friendship, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because we met online.
So crazy.
Should we jump into it?
Yeah, so we did mention on one of our previous podcast episodes about how we got to know each other, but we never actually mentioned how we actually became friends.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who hasn't heard the episode, just a brief summary is that June and I met on a language exchange app.
To clarify, it wasn't even an app. It was just say this. It was just this random website that doesn't even have any app, on the phone, right?
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not sure
yeah.
if it has an app, but we used like that website.
Yeah, the website
Yeah.
looked like it was built in the 90s. Yeah, so me and June met on this language exchange website, and I don't know, I think we just like started talking to each other, and then we just started talking about everything really.
Yeah.
Um
And what sort of started that sort of connection was I remember so clearly. It was back in 2000. I think it was
2022, I think.
yeah, 2022. I was on my way to my Pilates class
It
and we
sounds
were
like the beginning
talking.
of a Taylor Swift song.
And we were talking on the phone, like we were messaging each other, and we started talking about like our past experiences and our past, I don't know, like shared sort of like traumatizing experiences. And
Yeah.
both of our dads actually passed away as well. And we sort of started talking about what shaped our childhood and what we are interested in. And then suddenly we started talking about all different kinds of things. So it was
Yeah.
basically like love letter to each other. Like back then I was in Korea and you were still in the UK, London. We were in totally different time zones. And if I write something like daytime, then you reply like maybe 12 hours later, maybe sending
Yeah.
me like 30 messages, like really long messages. And it went on like that for days and months and over a year, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think we calculated that we literally wrote like 4 or 5 novels worth
Yeah.
of text to each other.
Oh my god. And it was only after like 1.5 years or something that we met for the first time in person,
Oh yeah. That was so
but only
crazy.
for like 1.5 days.
Yeah, I think yeah, it was so crazy because I felt so validated and seen after talking to you, because there were just so many things that I'd been thinking about by myself for so long. And
Yeah.
then I met you, and then you shared a lot of my opinions and my experiences, and I was like, "Oh my god, like where have you been all my life?"
Yeah.
Um yeah, I feel like what I learned from how we became friends is that often sharing common negative experiences are better for bringing people together.
Mhm.
I guess maybe like, for any listeners who might be going through something difficult, maybe you could think about joining a group for people who might have had similar experiences. For
Right.
example, I know that there are a lot of like grief groups for mothers who've lost children, or
Mhm.
people who've had miscarriages, or people who are struggling with fertility, or people who are recovering from alcohol addiction or drug addiction or things like that. So you
Yeah.
know, I feel like those kinds of situations can really bring people together and help people become vulnerable about opening up about their experiences and building deeper connections.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. And I think it's important to point out that both of us put a lot of effort into staying connected, I think. I mean, if we
yeah,
hadn't done
clearly.
that, it might have fizzled out, our friendship might have fizzled out. But we kept talking to each other, like we were really committed. So that's how our friendship turned into a real bonding.
I think we both also felt like we were fated to meet each other. So
Yeah.
I feel like it never would have fizzled out, right? Because the hardest part was like getting to meet each other.
Yeah, I know. We were so lucky.
I know, it's so
Um,
crazy.
and going back to that conversation about how to make friends as an introvert, I think maybe it's if you don't want to reach out to like a group of friends, or if you don't want to go to like a social event, maybe you can have like one extrovert friend who can actually take you to that kind of event. And maybe you can share with that friend saying that, oh, I really want to make new friends, but I'm sort of like afraid. So maybe you can help me or something like that. You can be honest about that if you have that one friend who can actually, coordinate something for you or introduce someone else to you. I think maybe that's a way to make new friends as well.
Yeah, and I don't think it's weird to do so. I mean, I've actually had people reaching out to me saying that they've just moved to Tokyo and they want to meet new friends.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to introduce them to people. So,
Definitely.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. You should definitely, yeah, find an extrovert friend to latch onto. Also, I think another good way to make new friends is even by kind of becoming a connector yourself. So if you have two friends who you know from different areas of life, and you feel like they would get along with each other because they have similar personalities, or they work in a similar industry, or they have similar hobbies, or
Mm-hmm.
you just think they're like-minded people, you can always be the one to connect them with each other. And I
Right.
feel like being someone who connects people automatically means that you end up meeting more new people as well yourself.
Definitely.
So, back to what we were saying about how we met and how we really shared a lot of vulnerable stories with each other and connected in that way. I feel like there might be people listening to us right now and thinking, that sounds really great, but I could never open up about myself so much to a stranger I just met online. You know, a lot of people might be wondering how we managed to build this trust with each other so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wanted to say about that, I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts after this as well. But I think what really made it work for me was that when I shared something about myself, I felt like you were really empathetic and understanding about it. And I felt like we were completely on the same page. So that made me feel comfortable to share more stuff. And I really think the way to build trust with someone you've just met is that when you can start by sharing one small thing about yourself, and then if they react in a way that you don't like or that makes you feel uncomfortable, then obviously you're not going to want to keep sharing more stuff.
Right.
So I think that's maybe a good way of how you can find out if this is the right person for you or not. So you don't have to go in sharing your whole life story on the first day, but you can try just sharing one thing that's kind of like 1% vulnerable and see how they react and see if you feel comfortable with that, and then you can see how it goes from there. And I think a lot of the time for me, like building this kind of friendship with someone is something that happens quickly or it never happens at all.
Right.
So I think you can find out relatively quickly whether that person is a safe space for you or not.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of this and looking back, thinking about our friendship, I think that's basically what I did for our friendship. Like, I didn't do it like consciously, but I feel like
Yeah.
I opened myself up, like maybe like 1% vulnerable side of me, and then you reacted in the right way.
Right.
So I always think about like how to connect with people who are, opting into something deeper and more vulnerable and stuff like that. So when I open that side of me, and when someone like responds to that in the right way, I think I really open myself up really quickly, and I was like, oh my god. But relating to this, I wanted to point out that I think it's important to lower your expectations actually when it comes to friendships.
Okay.
I'm not saying to stay connected to your toxic friendships or something like that, but it's important to remember that you're not gonna get everything from one person. And I
Yeah.
think this is connected to what you said about romantic partners as well. So you're not going to get everything from that one person, and that's perfectly okay. It's completely normal to have different groups of friends for different aspects of your life. Like you can have work friends, or you can have like gym buddies, or those you connect with, I don't know, over like shared hobbies or something like that. So not every relationship has to cover every part of who you are. You don't have to share everything with just one friend, and that's not gonna happen a lot of the time.
And it's also quite unhealthy as well.
Yeah, it's really unhealthy. So I think embracing this can actually free you from like the pressure of expecting one person to meet all of your needs. Yeah, I think that way, I think it'll be easier for you to, make new friends.
Yeah, definitely. And next time on another episode, maybe we can talk about toxic friendships and how to get out of them.
Oh yeah, that's such an important conversation. We should definitely cover that.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to talk about is that it's actually okay not to have friends. Some of you might be like thinking, I don't really need friends. So why is everyone saying I need to prioritize making friends? Or like, why is all the social media talking about building communities or, making new friends and stuff like that? But I think that's a really valid feeling. I think it's important to check in with yourself and understand what you truly want. Like, if you find that friendship doesn't actually resonate with you, I think that's totally fine as well. Like, everyone is just so different. Like, don't get swept up in social media or narratives about communities or friendships or all those posts about social events and stuff like that. So, if you are someone who thrives in solitude or prefers introspective time with yourself, I think that's a valid choice. Like, knowing your true self is really important. It's all about what feels good for you. And relating to this, I think it's important as well, to know the difference between loneliness and solitude, because you might be someone who enjoys like solitude, and that's perfectly okay. Don't mistake it for like loneliness. I feel like especially in Western society, there is this stigma around being alone, like it's always a bad thing or something like that. But I think solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. So if you are the one who enjoys like solitude or quality me time, that's totally fine. You don't really have to force yourself, out there looking for new friends or new people to meet. Yeah, I wanted to share that if you are that type of person, listening to this episode.
Yeah, I also feel like loneliness is more a feeling of being alone and wanting company or wanting someone
Yeah,
who understands
definitely.
you.
Mm-hmm.
And loneliness isn't really even connected with being alone, because you can feel lonely in a crowd of people. You can feel lonely when you're talking to friends who you don't really click with or who you feel like
Yeah.
don't understand you. So, yeah.
Definitely. That's why knowing yourself is so important. Like, even if you surround yourself with so many people, you can still feel lonely, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like a lot of people these days they're on the hunt for that perfect connection and so ready to bail if like the first connection or first meetup doesn't go as planned. But
Right.
like friendships and every human relationship take time and effort. So when you commit to getting to know someone, I feel like that's when you start to uncover like the who that person is, or like the real like beauty of that sort of relationship or friendship. So it's all about investing that time and energy, because those deeper connections often unfold like very slowly and gradually, so it takes time. So just don't be quick to like walk away or run away from like every relationship you run into. Just give them a chance to grow, and just be intentional about putting yourself out there. And even when it feels a little uncomfortable or when you're low on energy, you should prioritize like taking the time if you want to make that sort of connection, because it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there'll always be some friction at the start, but the more you prioritize it, the more natural it becomes to deepen those connections and friendships.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. But also, I guess it's like nobody has to force themselves to be friends with people that they don't want to be friends with, or people who don't want to be friends with them
Mm-hmm.
as well, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just I guess do whatever feels comfortable for you. And yeah, was there anything else you wanted to say, or
I think we pretty much
is that
covered
the end?
everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked a long time today. Well, if we'd love to hear if anyone has any questions or comments or further points of discussion. Obviously, we'd like to do another episode about this topic at some point. So yeah, thank you for listening, everyone.
We'll see you guys on our next episode. Bye bye. Thank you so much for listening to our latest episode. And if you liked it, please share with a friend.
We'd also really appreciate if you could rate and review our podcast. Please get in touch if you have any requests for future episodes.
We'll be back again with another episode next week.